Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We in the building. Man, a lot of people upset. A lot of people upset with me. A lot of people upset with a lot of things this week. A lot of stuff went down. All right, let's get into it, man. It's already late. Listen, I had a lot of technical difficulties. Computer, internet, different things. Had to just restart everything. So I apologize for getting such a late start, but let's hop into it. As always, we're looking for partnerships, not just for the show, but for teams, for players, for the leagues. Anybody that wants to support semi-pro football, reach out to me, man. Reach out to any of the teams, reach out to the players, reach out to the guys. If you're trying to get in touch with somebody, I do my best, to try to help out. We need as much support at this level of football as possible to keep things running smoothly. So let's jump right into the horn, man. Let's jump right into the horn. So there was new rankings that came out, new 3A rankings. So you'll see that the top 30 for 3A, the something Sharks dropped. I guess some boys out in Louisiana is balling. I don't know what happened. They had a big meeting. They said that they was going to review some things. They was going to get some real tape. And we seen some shifts. We seen some movement. So Texas Red Raiders is up there. I heard that there's a couple leagues down in Texas that's really balling. There's a league TUFL. I think there's Texas, Louisiana, and maybe Mississippi. I might be wrong on that, but I know that it covers a large distance. Them boys is balling out there. One thing to call out in the 3A 30 is that we got a couple teams from the Northeast up there. So when you look at I think they are where they at. Just seeing them. Number 11, the New Jersey unit. The New Jersey unit was actually a team I'm finding out that was supposed to be in the IFA. Listen, I'm in the IFA with the CT Falcons. I think we all dodged a bullet with that one. That team is legit. That team's for real. Played with the quarterback last year on Hudson Valley Mountaineers. He's a dog. He's a straight dog. He's got a cannon. Very good football team. But they got another team up there, the Jersey Knights. Heard the Jersey Knights are a really good team. And the crazy thing is I was talking to the commissioner, John Ciaplinski. Sorry if I said your name wrong, brother. But I was talking to him, and he said there's a couple of teams that's in the league that they've lost some really close games with some of these top teams. So the level of competition in the entire league is actually very high. There's a few teams in there. I know, like the Tri-County Owls, that aren't doing great. They haven't gotten a win yet. But I mean, when we look at the TFL, right? When you look at the TFL, you got a winless team in TFL, and they're pretty good. They're not the worst team. So just something to call out there, something to look at. The 2A rankings is more along the lines of what we need to be talking about today, because there's more teams in the TFL and the IFA that are in the 2A. Even after the readjustment, Chattanooga Eagles still the top team. Virginia Storm is in that same league. So you see those two teams. I guess they're both at the top of their league, and they're both at the top of the 2A rankings across the country, two best teams. That's pretty interesting, but got to give a big shout out to the Long Island Eagles, still undefeated from last year. Started off the season. Listen, I was one of the big guys out there saying the Bengals might upset the Eagles. The Bengals got a squad. The Bengals got this and that. And the Eagles played the Bengals last weekend, and the Eagles schooled them. And I think the score was 34-8 or something like that. Heard that the special teams really killed them. The words was that it was a much closer game, but listen, that's a 20-point spread. You know what I'm saying? So Eagles handled business. That's the second best team in a league, and they really took care of business. So, congrats to a New York team, a Northeast team being in the top 10 in the country. That's awesome. There's no more to say about that. The Mount Vernon Bangers are still there. I'm not sure if they'll be there after the next update, since they took the L to the Eagles, but they are in 30th. So that's your two teams out of the TFL. The only team out of the IFA is the CT Falcons. We actually dropped a couple spots to 26. So the Northeast is representing. Northeast is definitely showing up on the top teams in the country list. I was talking with with the owners of the CT Falcons about potentially playing a couple games with some of the teams that's on this list. And I think that's something that we need to normalize. We need to do more of that. We need to have more teams playing teams along their level, along their competition level, especially in these big ranked games. These teams need to be playing each other and not trying to avoid it and make it to nationals at any cost. But we had that conversation. We'll move on. Let's get into some rankings. Listen, there's a lot of people out there that's upset with me about this, and we're going to talk about it today. There's no guest. There's no special guest. I invited my boy Ramsey to come on as always. I consider him a co-host to the show. He's got practice tonight. He's got things going on in his life, so he can't always be there. But that's pretty much it. I want to talk. If anybody wants to jump on the show, send me a message on Facebook Messenger if you want to have a conversation. But before we get there, let's talk about these rankings. The East Coast Cardinals, they came into the IFA as an unknown team, brand new team. There was a lot of talk that they was going to be one of the best teams. They proved it, right? They had a first week bye, which is kind of crazy. I hate first week buys. But we didn't get to see them. Everybody else was playing. Are they real? Are they real? First game, they come out and score almost 50. Second game, they come out and score 50. Third game, they go against the Seacoast Warhawks, a team with a lot of well-known players in the IFA, a lot of well-known 3A players, a lot of just dogs on that team. They came out and they beat them. It was a close game. It was a 1-point game, 21-20. But they showed up, they won. They're at the top right now. Most points. Seacoast Warhawks is still in second place just because of how dominant their first couple games was. I mean, these dudes literally dominated. I mean, the scores had people in New York looking at our league like, man, is the league bad? Or is that team really that good? You know what I'm saying? That's how dominant they really was. CT Falcons, they answered the call. One of the big things for them was, can their offense step up? And they did that. New England Bearcats, getting a lot of heat for this. We're going to talk about that. But the Bearcats is the defending champs. They're trying to represent. They're trying to repeat. But at the end of the day, they haven't really played anybody so far. And then you got the New York Patriots. They was moving up. And then they had a bye week. They took a tough loss to the Falcons. It is what it is. When you look at the bottom, unfortunately, the bottom half teams not doing too well. We got two winless teams. We got, a Chargers team that, they won a game, but not really against a great team. They beat the main machine, a team that is no longer in the league. They closed their shop, got beat into submission by the East Coast Cardinals. Another 60-point game, shutout. And they didn't have any more games for the rest of the season, for what I'm being told. There was no more scheduled games for them. So it just made sense for them to close up shop. The last game of this season was to play the CT Falcons this Saturday. They said, we're not making that trip down to Connecticut. There's no point. So we're going to get back to this. I promise. We're going to get back to that. But we're going to look at the stats. The stats, it's not detailed. We don't got a lot of information. There's some teams that you can't even find tape on them. You can't even get a highlight reel on them. I've requested that people send me their clips, send me their plays, teams send me information on their teams. I got one response from a team that sent me touchdowns and turnovers, basically. And that's great, but I can't do nothing with it if only one team sends me the information. At the end of the day, the best that I can do is look at the points scored, the average points, the points allowed, and the average points. And when you look at all the teams, we're going to keep the main machine up there for now, but I'm going to remove them next week from the stats list. But when you look at all the teams, Seacoast Warhawks dominated. This is why they're still number 2, even after taking a loss. Look at how many points they scored. They've got like almost a 70-point lead on the East Coast Cardinals, which is the second highest scoring team in the league. That's crazy. Yeah, they're a game up, right? They're a game up, but that's still 70 points that the East Coast Cardinals would have to overcome. So even if the Warhawks didn't score a single point in their next game, the Cardinals would have to score 70 points just to catch up. That's crazy. Dominant offense. One thing to note about that, though, is, Thaddeus, their star, their dominant quarterback. I mean, I found some tape on him earlier in the season when I was putting the power rankings together, and the dude is a dog. The dude is a straight dog. I mean, he's tall, he's fast. You know, you could tell he's got some strength. He's got a good arm. He could throw it downfield. He could throw it off his back foot, throw it on the run. He just forces the ball sometimes, you know, puts him in bad situations. But the dude is a dog, and he went down with an Achilles injury. We actually going to take a look at the clip of the play that I believe he got hurt. You can kind of see him when he tries to make a move. You can see him like instantaneously pull that leg up, and then he gets sacked and the ball comes out. So we're going to take a look at that play. Just so everybody knows, we missed Jeff Mack on the last show. Invited him back. Just seeing my boy joined in. We're going to get him on the show in a few moments. But yeah, listen, they lost their star quarterback. So the guy that's kind of the big component of that offense with 185 points is not there. However, I'm hearing that the guy that stepped in has a cannon too. Maybe not the same experience. So we're going to see if they can hold that number one spot. But 70 points, that's crazy. That's crazy. They average 46 points a game. They average 46 points a game. That's crazy. East Coast Cardinals, like we said, and the CT Falcons, you know, 1, 2, 3. And that's only because the Patriots had a week off. You know, they're number 4. They put up 72 points, and they just had a week off. So we're going to see if the Falcons can hold that number 3 spot or if the Patriots will take it back. You know, it's really going to be an interesting week, again, now that the machine is gone. But when you look at defenses, and I'm getting a lot of heat for this, the New England Bearcats are now number 2. But listen, everybody keeps saying, I keep getting this information, nobody has scored an offensive touchdown on the Bearcats this season yet. I mean, the Patriots are the only team that scored on the Falcons. So not hard to tell, you know, on at least in the South, who the 2 best defenses is. But here's the crazy thing. The Falcons and the Bearcats, right? 8 points, 12 points. But when you look at the Warhawks and the Cardinals, those 20 and 21 points came from each other. Those points allowed came from them playing each other. Outside of the 2 best teams in the league playing each other, nobody scored on them either. Very tough to call any of those defenses better than the other until they all see each other. You know, at the end of the day, the best that you could do is look at stats and do the eye test and say, well, these guys are a little bigger, these guys are a little faster, they cover a little better, they get more pressure. But that's really all you can do until they see each other. You know, at the end of the day, stats and rankings mean but so much. You still got to show up on Saturday. So just interesting to kind of look at the rankings and then look at the play on the field. You know, if all you did was look at stats, it still tells kind of the story here, you know. And the one thing I've been saying about the New England Bearcats, the offense doesn't look that great. Listen, the only offenses that they're better than are the bottom 4 teams in the league. Any of the top teams, they don't have the offensive power to stand up with any of the top teams in the league. But defensively, they still look great. And I've been saying this from day one. The defense looks great. They average in 4 points allowed per game. They're a team that, you know, people are kind of counting them out. But listen, defense wins championships, man. Defense wins championships. But let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the TFL. I really wish Christian Ramsey was here because I don't know. I don't know if the TFL, if I got everything right. If anybody wants to tap in and correct me, just check the messages. Nobody tapped in yet. Listen, from what I know, Eagles are 5-0, Bengals are 3-2. The Ducks beat the Green Wave. They 3-2. Green Wave have lost 3 games. That's what I know. I know they're in week 5. They haven't had any bye weeks. The Bulldogs, I believe, is 2-3. I know they were 1-3, and they played the Bengals, a 0-5 team. Listen, if you know nothing about the TFL and you're seeing this for the first time, the Brooklyn Bengals is not a bad football team. They're having a bad year. That team, if you injected them into the IFA, they're probably 6th, right? I think they're better than the Huskies. Maybe. They're better than the Huskies right now. The Huskies from opening day was a pretty decent team. The Huskies today, totally different team. We're gonna talk about that. But I think this right here is kind of interesting. There's only 6 teams, and we're at the midway point in the season. Now you're starting to see a little bit of separation. At one point in time, the Brooklyn Bulldogs was number 2 in the TFL, and they were looking really strong. Now all of a sudden, they're not looking so strong. They had an incident on their sideline with players fighting each other. They lost a tough game by forfeit to the Green Wave, but talent-wise, they still pretty good team. The Ducks, I just found out that the Ducks got Cal at quarterback. Cal is a dog. Cal is a dog. Cal been a dog for a long time too. So the Ducks are looking pretty good. They looking all right. And I heard they got a lot more young talent. Bengals got to get it together though. They really do. Apparently, the Bengals only lost this game to the Eagles. From what I'm hearing, anybody wants to argue this, the Bengals only lost this game to the Eagles because of special teams. But listen, it's 3 phases to a football game. 3 phases. And special teams is a big one. There's been plenty of games where I looked at a punter and said, yo, just kick it out of bounds. Why? Because if we give up a touchdown, that's going to change the whole game. You can't give up a touchdown on a punt. You can't give up a kick return touchdown. That changed the whole momentum, everything. Your sideline just go quiet. And if you guys don't understand that as the Bengals, you probably shouldn't be ranked so high. Like, if you at the top of your league, you should know that. And you should game plan around that. And apparently, they didn't. And the Eagles just crushed them in the special teams game. There will be a rematch. You know, all the teams in the TFL make it to the playoffs. And so far, the Mount Vernon Bengals are showing that not a lot of people that could beat them. The Brooklyn Bulldogs beat them on a crazy Hail Mary type last play of the game. Mims went up over 2 people and just snagged it from them, landed 1 toe in. Could they win like that every time? I don't think so. So the Bengals really are the number 2 team. In my opinion, the Ducks could really challenge that, though. The Ducks are a good football team, not as star-studded, but a lot of movement, a lot of crazy things going on. But listen, the Eagles got the chance to go like 20-something and 0 if they go undefeated, win another TFL. They could potentially be back in the Natty. So if anybody want to tap in, talk about the TFL in a little bit, all welcome. Last thing we're going to talk about is the NEAFL. This is that spring league that's down in Jersey and Philly. They got a Delaware team in there too. South Philly had a bye. The Jersey Knights is a really good football team. Central Jersey Knights, 35-0. The Pirates, the Delco Tide. I think they're another like Delaware area team. They beat up on the Philly Phantoms, and that's the team that I wanted to kind of highlight. So I was talking to the commissioner of the league, and he said that Philly Phantoms team, they're 2-4, but in all 4 games, hold up. Matter of fact, let me go to his message real quick. He said in all 4 games, they lost by a touchdown. And he said for a lot of those games, they were winning until the last moments. Let me just go to his message real quick. Yeah, so they played the Canes, they lost 14-6. They played the Knights, they lost 14-6. They played the Herd and lost by 1 point, 13-12. Pretty sure if they had a kicker, they might have won that game. And then you look at their game against the Tide, which they just played 14-6. That's a really close game. That's a 1 touchdown game. So the Philly Phantoms is actually a decent team. And there's a team that had a similar season that we were just talking about last year in the TFL, the Mount Vernon Bengals. They were in every single game that they played. They lost, I think, 5 games by way of 1 touchdown. So Philly Phantom could next season in the NEAFL, be one of those 6-1 teams. They could be one of those 5-2 teams like the Delco Tide. So let's move on. New Jersey unit, 14-0, the Garden State Herd. That's not typical. I'm thinking that the Garden State Herd probably played their best game of the season against the unit because the unit is a dominant football team. If you've been paying attention to the show and you've been paying attention to some of the scores that they've been putting up 40, 35 every game. They've been shutting teams out. So the fact that that game was only a 2-touchdown game against a 3-3 team tells me that something happened in that game. Hopefully there's no injuries. I'm going to tap in with the commissioner next week for the NEAFL, kind of give them a little bit of time to talk about what's going on down there in Jersey and all that. Hopefully we can get a player or 2 to tap in from the team, talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the unit. 1-6, Jersey Thunder beat the winless Tri-County Owls. I played the Tri-County Owls last year. They were a good football team when I played them. I don't know if they lost players or what. Something's going on down there. And the last game was the Jersey Jags absolutely destroying the Delaware Fire 48-zip. All right. With that being said, we're just going to tap on the games to watch this week. New York Patriots, number 2 team in the Southern Conference in the IFA, play the East Coast Cardinals, number 1 team in the Northern Conference in the IFA. This is a number 1 versus number 5 total ranking matchup, at least as far as how we have it. I think the league kind of agrees with how I have it. You also got the Mayhem rankings for the IFA, who kind of agrees with how I have it as well. Patriots coming from a bye week, so they should be rested. But if you know, Patriots don't take no breaks. Patriots don't take no breaks. But this is a big game because up until this point, no team from the top of the Northern Conference has played a team from the top of the Southern Conference. We've all played each other. You had the 2 best teams in the South play each other first with the Falcons and the Patriots. Falcons took that win by a small margin, 2 points. You had the 2 best teams in the Northern Conference play each other with the Cardinals and the Warhawks. They won by a small margin, 1-point victory. This is the first time you're going to see 2 top teams from opposite conferences play each other. This is a big game because as of right now, the offenses in the North are looking ridiculous. They putting up 50, 60 points a game. They smoking dudes. They getting shutout after shutout after shutout. Patriots kind of stumbled a little bit against the Crusaders, didn't look that great. Then they lost at home against the Falcons. They picked up some guys before the rosters locked. They looking real deadly. I'm going to tell you right now, the Patriots are looking even deadlier than they did when the season started. Just played them outside of the IFA, outside of the TFL. I just played a game with them, and there was some dudes that wasn't there before. They was like, "Oh, you didn't know that was me," and I was like, "Dang, yeah, they looking good. They looking good." So Patriots got a chance to kind of knock the Cardinals off their pedestal and also kind of represent for the South. Now, if they lose, the narrative is going to be that the Northern Conference really has it under control. Even with the Warhawks having that 1 loss to the Cardinals, that's going to kind of put them both teams atop of everybody else. So Patriots really need to go out there, represent. They got to travel to Brockton, Mass from the BX. Man, that's far. Brockton, Mass from the middle of Connecticut is far. So hopefully they get everybody up there. Everybody travels. They go out there and they show out. Any AFL game to watch, this is coming straight from the commissioner himself. That Philly Phantoms team we was just talking about that was in every single game, lost a bunch of games by 1 touchdown. They taking on the New Jersey Unit, a team that they look to have stumbled on their shoelaces in this last game. A 3-3 team only beat them by 2 touchdowns. Let's see what happens. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. They playing in Philly, so Unit has to travel. And I know for a fact that their quarterback is coming from West Bumble, nowhere, New York. He's got to go all the way down to Philly, and that's the Motor Tay offense. So we'll see. I didn't get any information on TFL. I reached out. I tried to find a flyer or something. Couldn't find anything. So don't really know who's playing who or what the best game to watch is for this week. Hopefully somebody will tap in and let me know what's up. But with all that being said, before we talk about the IFA and all of that, let's get Jeff Mack on the show. Jeff Mack is a running back. He's an athlete. This dude is one of the twitchiest, fastest, just dominant players that I've ever played with. I actually played against my man as a kid for years. He played on this team in the Bronx, and I was playing in Mount Vernon Razorbacks. And for whatever reason, we always had similar records and always saw each other in the playoffs. And I remember as a kid, I used to be so mad at this dude. He would smack me, I'd smack him. He'd be running, I'd be running. Then we ended up playing in high school together. And dude was a dog in our state title game. He had like 4 or 5 touchdowns. He had over 450 yards. Dudes just couldn't stop him. He's had some injuries, but he's recovered. He had a great college career. I remember having a chat with him, And he was like, yo, I hurt my ankle, blase, blase. I was like, dude, you're a dog. Just keep doing what you're doing. He ended up, like, his senior year was dominant. He played 1 AA ball, played for FCS team, went out, was playing with the Rebels, was a dog there. He played with the Gators, was a dog there. He played for the Knolls, was a dog there. Now he's in the IFL. So enough hyping him up. Let's get him on the show. Yo, Jeff Mack.
Yo.
Hold on, let me get this right. There
What's
you
going
go.
on?
What's going on, big bro?
What's going on, my guy? How you living?
I'm living good, man. How you living?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Congrats, man, on the show, man. It's
Yeah,
big, man. It's big news, man.
I appreciate it, bro. Just trying to bring some attention to semi-pro, you know what I'm saying? Get more people to understand what's really happening, because there's a lot that be happening out here on the field, off the field, and there's nobody to bring the information to the people that's not tapped in like that. So we're just trying to bring some information to people, let them know what's going on. But listen, you out in you in the Midwest? Is Kansas the Midwest?
Yeah, I'm in a Midwest. Yeah, well, I'm not really in Kansas right now, but I'm in South Dakota. It's still a Midwest, though.
Man, you way up there, boy. I would have never thought
man.
in my life. My boy went from the Bronx to South Dakota. That's crazy.
yeah, man. Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah, man, it's been a journey, man.
You playing in the IFL right now?
Right now, I'm playing in the CIF. I played in the IFA, but I'm playing in the CIF right now. Champions Indoor Football League.
And that's for you playing for the Kansas Tropics, the Topeka Tropics?
Yeah, Topeka Tropics right now, yeah.
Yo, I love the colors, man. They got powder blue and what is that, like a light red?
It's like an orange. It's kind of like a bright orange, like an auburn orange. Like I said, I like it. It's a new team, a new expansion team that came to the league. So, I know one of the coaches. He had played in the league. He played in the A1. He played for Philadelphia Soul and stuff. And he had told me to come down. So I mean, like I said, it's a first year team. We getting things going, but like I said, it's a lot of light on the tunnel. You know how these first year teams go, these expansion teams go, man. It's entertainment, man. That's what we do. We play indoor football. We entertain fans, man. It's a great experience, man.
Yeah, I'll be seeing some of your pictures, man. The interactions with the fans, the celebrations, all that. That's dope. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what we want more of, right? We want more people, knowing who the players are, knowing who guys are. And I think one of the great things about your story is that you played at a lot of different levels, you know what I'm saying, especially at the semi-pro level. So one of the things I wanted to, kind of dig into was, a week ago, is just kind of your experience coming straight out of a Division I AA program. It might have been a small school, but talk about your time at Post, talk about your transition out of Post, and how you entered semi-pro.
Yeah. So when I was at Post, I mean, it was at that time they normally recruit a lot of inner New York players, Bronx, all the boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and Long Island people. So it was a lot of people around the way who I know who we even played against in high school, like, Thomas Beverly, Anthony Brunetti. It was a lot of guys, that was on the team that, we kind of knew of or was kind of, a marquee guy in their city or at their school. So that grind was pretty it kind of really broke me out my shell, really. From Iona, the only time we really got to spend together was really, the couple weeks before camp. But in college, you living with dudes, you dudes play the same position, dudes might be bigger than you, dudes might be faster than you, but it's all a grind. And if you're used to the grind, then you're used to really putting the work in, and that's just where I kind of really pride myself in and really work ethic. It's not really, as far as talent, because, that's why you practice, and practice makes permanent. It don't make perfect, but it makes permanent. But as far as the grind, man, it was a grind to really stay there. Not too many people play all 4 years at Post. period. You know what I'm saying? So it's a grind to stay healthy. You know, I stayed there, summer workouts, winter workouts, fall workouts. I basically stayed at school all year long, and even just the grind of getting hurt and still persevering. I mean, it was pretty tough because at the time, I was dealing with a lot of personal issues with my family as far as my mom being sick. So I kind of really that was my sanctuary playing that post. Them, my parents being able to come to those games. So it was you know, a lot of things I was dealing with, but I still persevered. And there was a time where I didn't really want to play. And my boy Evan Flowers had brought me back in the loop. I didn't play for about a year straight out of post. I didn't play for a year. So I was like, you know what? My boy Ev hit me up. He was like, "Yo, come play for the Rebels," and that was the first. And once he said it, knowing that we went to war together, we went to college together, we was grinding, and it was like, yeah, man, all right, I'm finna step out. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna step out. I'm finna step back on the scene. And at that time, we had a few guys. It was me, Evan. We had Jamal Schulters. We had Avery Grant. We had Corey. We had a lot of guys on the team that were, from either from my school, from Stony Brook, from schools around the way. So that kind of really brought me into the semi-pro thing. And one of the main things I feel like people don't understand is we went to school, we didn't get to play against no public schools. So this is like my get back for all the public schools. You get what I'm saying? Like for real, for all facts. Everyone always say, "Oh, public school is better than Catholic school." This and that. This is my get back. I want to play against the best, and like I said, I played against the best. I played with the best. Dave Legree, Jeff Legree. You know what I'm saying? Jamal Schultz. I play with some of the greatest, legends you would say in this game. You know what I'm saying? I played on certain teams, and that was my get back. I was like, okay, cool. This is my time to play against these dudes. I don't care if they're a little bit older than me or, they're a little bit younger than me. This is my time to play against everyone. Yeah, the public school, all the John F. Kennedys, all the Fort Hamiltons, all the Midlands, all the teams, all the, Lincoln, all the, South Shore, everyone, Sheepstead, everyone. That's what really made it. And still to this day, I'm still learning about more legends and more people. And I never tell anyone to downplay it, especially, and being someone who plays semi and plays professional indoor football. It's like I would never tell no one, man, if you can do it, you can do it, man. Like get that experience. Like it's not just trust me, it's not about X's and O's. It's not about dollar signs. It's not about it. Like me personally. Like I'm gonna do this if I wasn't getting paid. I'm gonna do this tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I just got out the lab. Like this is like it's it's a gift that's given to you, and if you don't give back, how can you say that you've helped? How can you say that you have inspired? It's not about your story. It's about you being able to persevere through whatever it is in life, and that's what sports teaches us. That's what semi-pro, really teaches us. It still teaches us lessons still to this day. Discipline, honor, respect. You know what I'm saying? All those little things that teach you. If you can make it in football, you can make it in life. So that transition to semi-pro really helped me because number one, it helped me stay in shape. I never stopped playing football. Hence, that's probably why I had tore my Achilles a few years back because I was playing a little bit too much. I never really gave myself a break. I'm playing February to July, and I'm coming straight home from July to December, and I did that for about 4 years. So that was the one toll on my body that I was like, okay. And it's not that I wouldn't do it. It's just doing it smarter. I would play in one league. I wouldn't play in 4 or 5 leagues. As you get older, you gotta get smarter. It don't matter. It don't matter how nice you think you are. It don't matter how dope you think you are. I mean, you gotta take care of your body. So getting hurt kind of really, being out of excessive time, should I say, like being injured, that kind of really um, allowed me to really reconstruct what I was trying to do and how I was trying to do it. And I will always say get semi-pro film because if you don't know about the indoor game, it's only 60 yards. So yeah, 60 yards is fun, it's entertainment. You know what I'm saying? You get a good solid check from it, but it's nothing like playing outside. It's nothing like semi. It's nothing like that's what pushed me to play outside. I want to play against people outside on that gridiron, on that. You know what I'm saying? That's the whatever comp it is. That's what it was. Coming from playing from the Rebels, the Stags, the Seminoles, the teams that I played for. At those moments in my career, I felt like I made those moves to play with people, to play against people, all of that, to really put it all on the line. This is my time to really, have fun. You know what I'm saying? Have fun and really get to embrace the brotherhood that we really didn't get a chance to have or to really experience with a lot of public schools. A lot of people at that time we wasn't playing no public school, so it was hard to say, oh yeah, it was just talk at that
Yeah.
time. It
Just
was just, oh,
everybody,
who's better? Who's this? Who's that? So
yeah, there's some people tapping in that don't know. Me and Jeff went to Iona Prep from 2006 to 2010. It's a private school that plays in the New York Catholic High School Association. It's insulated. We don't play public schools like some other states might do. We just play guys within, actually not just within the Catholic High School Association, but we actually only play guys within our particular division. So you got a single A, double A, triple A, just like you got in semi-pro, but it's kind of in reverse where you know there's no real interconference play. You just play those 8 or 7 or 10 teams that are in your division. So we really only played the same guys. And you have mentioned Anthony Brunetti. He's a guy that me and you both played from freshman year, because just like we went from freshman to JV, Anthony Brunetti went from freshman to JV. And we saw him a couple of times on JV. Then he was a varsity sophomore like we was, and we saw him year after year after year. And then you went and you played with him in the same backfield, in the same backfield. So kind of talk before we go forward for a second, just for a second. Let's just talk about
man.
that for.
All right, so if you don't know the history on that, of course, our junior year, undefeated, 7 touchdowns, 400 yards in a chip. We did it. So we already had a little animosity going on because they beat us. Our senior year, they beat us. I never forget that. They beat us on that nasty field, geese doodle, all types of nasty. It was in nasty weather. I mean, I don't really do the whole weather thing, but it is what it is. So they beat us. So we get there. Now, mind you, I broke my foot too. So I was just in camp and I was just, on crutches and everything. That's what I mean when I say just being around certain people and being around the atmosphere at post kind of made you one. I was supposed to redshirt. I broke my fifth metatarsal in my foot and I was supposed to redshirt. But just because dudes was talking crazy, he was talking crazy. Oh yeah, this and that. You think you was gonna start? And there's always friendly battle, and there's always friendly battle. But I never forget. I end up my freshman year. I end up burning my red shirt because I end up starting. I ended up playing the last 4 games, went to the playoffs, we lost to Cal PA. But I was like, there's no way I'm gonna let this guy talk crazy. And it was like that for the rest. It was so bad. He switched position. Like he don't even play running back. He didn't play running back for the rest of the time we was in college. So I made it a friendly competition, and that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's all love. But when it come to football and it come to just competing and the type of person I am, man, I'm telling you, I made sure I secured that spot, and it was a battle because he's a little bit bigger than me. I was 175 at the time, but
He
you know
was
what
a
I'm saying. I was quick as lightning, so it was like that. That was better for the offense. That was better for what was going on, and we had our packages when we were together and everything, and everything was cool, but at the same time, it was always a battle. I was never complacent with it. I made sure I overturned. I made sure I'm like, it's no doubt about it. So by the time we seniors, you're not even playing the same position as me. You know what I'm
yep.
saying? So that was one of the big battles that everyone was kind of talking about as freshmen and sophomores, and then by the time we got to junior, senior year, it was like, yeah, he's just starting linebacker, I'm the starting running back. But that battle that we had, and we also had Thomas Beverly from St. John the Baptist. He was there a little earlier, but it was with him too. So it was us three. It was a battle. When I say it was a battle, that's one thing I like about post is it was always a battle for that spot. You know what I'm saying? And to secure that spot at my position, and college football was kind of hard at that time because I was 175. I'm getting like 20 carries a game, but it's doable. It's the work is put in. The work is, you know what I'm saying. Even Brunetti was a two-sport athlete too. So it wasn't like I'm going up against just no slouch. He playing baseball. He's starting
Yeah, he's a
pitching. You know what I'm saying? Starting. So he's a dog. So it's not like I'm playing against nobody who's, you know what I'm saying? Just that friendly competition, that friendly fire was that kind of really drove me in that and in those times to really just, raise my game to another level and still be able to
yeah.
play still to this day, to be honest.
I remember having a conversation with you, you know what I'm saying? I tapped in with you a bunch of times, and especially when I found out you was hurt. I knew what was going on with moms. And I told you, I was like, dude, you like that. Just focus, do your thing, and you'll be fine. And, I remember hearing a little doubt in your voice a little bit back then, but it clicked. And once it clicked, I saw greatness out of you. So last thing before we jump into this IFA talk, this TFL talk, just kind of talk about it because you got a great perspective. Talk about the difference. Now, listen, the field is tighter. You got walls. The kicking game is different. The specials game is different. Field is shorter. But just talk about the
Hmm.
differences and the level of play, the facilities, the level of ownership, all of that between going from you played on some top semi-pro programs and then going
Yeah.
into a professional level.
Yeah, man. It's like you gotta whatever you feel it is when it comes to the competition, it's at an all-time high. Like I haven't met they don't place you in, houses or, hotels right then and there. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's roommates. It's also remember the Titans type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know who's gonna get cut. But me personally, I've always, like I said, those friendly battles with Brunetti, from with me and you, like all those kind of drive me because it's someone out there that's younger than you, that's stronger than you, that's better than you, and they could be right next to you, and it's this different level of competition because that coach is just gonna give you an envelope like this and be like, I appreciate you, go home. He's not gonna explain nothing to you. So
Yeah.
it's a different type. You got to be locked in. You got to be locked in the film. You got to be able to beat this person from right here to the door, from the door to the kitchen, from the kitchen to the hallway. You have to be able to get to all those three spots in 2 seconds because it's 26 yards sideways and it's 60 yards this way. So if you ever really lock into the way I move and my film and how I train, it's all about movement and a phone booth. That's how I make people miss. It's in the phone booth. If you can make a linebacker miss when he's right here in front of you, there's no way you're gonna be able to make it in arena football because the average play is 7 seconds. So you're not going up against just the average dude. You're going up against Michigan State. You're going up against all the dudes that just got cut, all the free agents that's making 1,500 a game. You're going up against some dogs. Matt Elam. I done played against Sean Oakman, Matt Elam, Blake Sims. It's certain dudes that I played against that it's like yeah, that dude really like that. But at the end of the day, if you could beat him to a spot, it's all your mindset. It's all deception. It's how you train. It's you have to be fast. Everything is fast. So when I step out and when that play is called, whether it's zone right, stretch right, dive right, I already got seven things already. All right. So if the linebacker blitz, I know he's coming this way. So I might have to bend back this way. And you have to do it in 2 seconds. If you don't, it's not gonna be. It look. I make it look that way, but it's not. It's not as easy as it really seems. But it's fun. It's fun. It's
I know.
entertainment. It's so much entertainment, man. When I say it's entertainment, like I pride myself off of it. Like this is like my NFL. Yeah, I'm saying this is my joy, my excitement. This is me showcasing myself at the highest level. So when it comes to kickoff, it's a play could be 5 seconds, 4 seconds, however long you want it to be. A play, receivers is a high motion, so they can beat you like in 2 seconds. The DBs, a lot of DBs get picked up a lot in this league because if you can cover in that field, that's like covering in your house. That's like covering in your house. That's like playing freeze tag in your house. If you can play freeze tag in your house for an hour, you'll be able to last. Like that's exactly what it's like. You have to be able to get everyone. It's a zone. It's like a Syracuse defense. You have a man in your zone, and if you're not thinking properly, you don't know which way to go, how to go, where to go. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people is the arena game is not for them. Even the position I play, running backs. You don't see too many running backs,
Don't.
really have success in arena football because it's not for us. It's for every game you see. We scoring. We either scoring 70 or we scoring 20. It's one or the other. We ain't gonna never. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna never
One or the other.
be
It's either
like
crazy or
14,
it's tough.
10. Yeah, no. It's either you get every week. You're either getting blown out, you're losing by a nail biter, or you're blowing them out. Because I'm telling you, it's bombs over Baghdad. You gotta really be able to play defense and understand that when you're on this level and you know people will score, you know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna score. Like
Yeah,
somehow it might take them 5 minutes, it might take them 1 minute, it might take them 10 seconds, but they're gonna score. And it's that split second, it's a matter of you making a play. Like that's why I give so much respect to DBs because if you can get a pick a game, like man,
that's tough.
you league ready for sure. You league that means you could cover anything.
Yeah,
We have the
yeah,
advantage in this game. We have high motion. We have the advantage. We can our motions gives us an advantage. But the fact that you can be able to stop that, it's like, man, it's impressive to see a lot of the guys. You would be amazed. A lot of the guys that really are in the league still that play, they're older than me. It's not too many
yeah.
young guys in the league. It's not too many young guys. That's what the IFL made that league to where it's a lot of vets. But even me, I'm considered a vet, but I only played 1 year in the IFL. So technically I'm a rookie. And that year I got hurt. So it's like it's so tricky, but you playing against veterans that's 33, 34, that went to Kansas, that went to USC. These dudes' feet is on a million.
Right.
But it's your mindset. They bleed just like you do. They sweat just like you do. If you can beat that guy to that spot, it don't matter where he from. I don't care what school you went to. You're
How does
beat,
that
and
compare for you? How
that's
does that
how I built my rapport with.
Yeah, how does that
Say
compare
again.
for you to like your last game with, let's say, the Knowles? You know what I'm saying? I know you was with the Knowles a couple years ago, playing in the Natties.
Yeah.
How does that compare as far as for you? You know what I'm saying? The speed of the game, the talent level that
So
you're going up against, all of that.
I always, one thing that I like about semi is that you can analyze the game different. It slows down. When you're in the arena, it's kind of hard for me. That's why I'm twitchy now. If I get the ball, I gotta make a move. I'm so twitchy because I'm so used to someone being there. When you're outside, sometimes I double take my my moves and my steps, and I'll do something that'll make you be like, oh, why'd you do that? Why you didn't? You got to get used to doing it. Once you run a couple stretches, and it's like, okay, wow, I got 10 more yards to work with. I don't have to make this move so soon. So now when you play, when I play with the nose, the one thing I love about Spina is he likes to get you going on the zones. He likes to let you can turn a zone into a stretch, into a cutback, into a cramp. So it's amazing how playing, like when I play with the nose, even though we lost in the natties, just me getting the groove. Dante was going off. Dante went crazy. He had to run for like 150. You know what I'm saying? And I'm right behind him. I probably ran for like 60, 70, but just the way we're hitting them holes and hitting them gaps and stretching it and it's a different feel because it's more space.
Right.
And as a player, that's the best way you can get better. It's not physically no more, it's mentally. Physically, you're supposed to get better. You're supposed to be in any type of shape it is to play the game, but mentally, to know how to beat this person every play, and he knows what you're doing. That's when you know you're kind of getting better and your game is getting to a higher level. So when I play in semi-pro, I try to do a lot of things that I can't do in indoor. Like as far as blocking, you
Right.
can't. I don't really block that much in arena. So I like to cut block a lot. I like to work on blocking receivers in space and things like that. And my
Right.
weaknesses as far as trying to make a weakness a little bit better, not necessarily a weakness, but something that can make you stand out and not make you get on the field. Now you transfer that to arena. A lot of dudes can't play arena because you're not the starting running back. So how are you going to get on the field? You got to be on kickoff or you got to be on kick return. You got to be making tackles or you got to be making touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? That gives you the ability. So when you come to semi, okay, cool. I could punt return, I could kick return, I could play slot, and I could play running back. So it's no way I'm gonna come off the field. That's
And
how you got to look at it.
that's crazy because for us, that's normal. Like you,
Yeah,
you got to be able to do that, and we start. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know the last time I didn't start. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if there's ever a time that you didn't start. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about that, like it was never a question of like I'm gonna block. You know what I'm saying? If they put me in and the ball's going to somebody else, I'm gonna make a name for myself by putting this dude on his neck. Or like they ask for kick return, I'm like the first one. Like put me on kick return. Let me show you
yeah,
something. I
yeah.
see a lot in semi-pro that there's not a lot of guys like that. And they're not from that pedigree. How you feel about that?
I just feel that as I don't want to really. You can't really blame where they're from, but I can say this: if you have enough dudes leading by example, then it's not one time I haven't ran down kickoff for the Noles, the Rebels, or the Seminoles. It's not one time, you know what I'm saying? I was a sub for anything, whether it's a punt or this and that. I want to do that. I'm not that type of player. I come in and I try to lead by example. I just feel like a lot of semi-pro guys, if this is going to be your NFL, you got to respect it a little bit more. You got to want it a little bit more. You can't just come to the game and think that, okay, yeah. Like, how do you feel I would never feel right if my father and my mother and my father was in the stance and I didn't perform. I can never do it. Even them not being there, I can never not perform because like this is what I'm placed on this earth to do. So you got to have a different type of hunger. I got nothing to do with the sport. It got everything to do with you wanting to make a play, and you got to prove yourself. I feel like semi-pro, a lot of people they don't take it as serious, and it's not what it used to be. What it used to be was it was
Mhm.
dudes checking dudes on the sideline. It was elderly dudes checking dudes. You couldn't even talk when I first started. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, if you're not a baller, if you ain't playing, you ain't even talking. You better go on kickoff. You better get up out of here. You better show me something. Now, everyone you make one or two plays and it's I'm this or I'm that or how he do this, how he do that. You know what I'm saying? Every team I played for, I earned that. I earned my way. Jamal Schultz used to start on the Rebels. I earned my way. I said, okay, cool. You're gonna start at running back. I'm gonna start at slot, but I'm not gonna be on the bench. That's what I'm not gonna do. When I was on the
Facts.
Stags, the same thing was me and Cody. You know what I'm saying? Whether he was hurt or not, I'm gonna make sure I'm playing on the time. When I'm on the Simmons, I'm gonna make sure I'm on the field. Like you have to have that demeanor. It's your demeanor when you come to the game. I never came into no camp for indoor or arena football and was like, "Hey man, you think I'm gonna get cut?" Or "Dang man, you think I'm gonna play?" It was never an issue.
Not a
I
question.
know you. If you worry about that, you out of there. You out of there. You're not prepared.
Yes, sir. But listen, Jeff, it was great to get you, man, and get your opinion and stuff. But before the show ends, I want to go ahead and jump back to the IFA and kind of talk about what's going on. So, I appreciate you, bro. Definitely gonna try to get you back on at some point in the future. Um, we'll stay in touch and we'll tap in. Yo, appreciate you,
For sure. Much love, man. Thank you.
bro. No problem, man. Great conversation with Jeff Mack. You know, wish I could have got him last week, but I'm happy to get him this week. just a great opinion from a guy who's played, at every level you could think about. We were state champions. Um, and Pop Warner, I was a state champion one year. He was a state champion the next. Um, we were state champions in high school. He played Division I football in college, and he came in right away, had success in the 5-star with the Rebels. Then he played in the MLF with the Stags when they, went to the championship. He played with the Knowles, who made national championship team. So he's played at a lot of different levels, and now he's playing professional football in arena. So it's kind of great. So when you think about like the level of playing arena, you got to remember that there's guys like him, and he's not the only guy. There's a lot of guys like him playing arena football and also playing semi-pro football, especially in our area. There's a lot of guys in the TFL. There's a lot of guys in the MLF, the EFA, guys in the ECFL that are playing pro ball. So just an interesting take. Definitely, if you want to hear that interview again, and I'm going to post it on YouTube. Blase, blase. But let's talk about this IFA stuff, man. Let's talk about it. So I'm not gonna really dig too deep into how I come up with my points because it took some work and it's kind of proprietary, and I had to kind of figure out what works best for the semi-pro level, what works best for the IFA. One of the challenges is the number of teams. The more teams that you have, the better a point system works. Once you get over 22 or 23 teams, it works great. When you only got 10 teams, it becomes a challenge, and you got to kind of figure out how to keep things balanced. That's the number one thing, because when you do a point system, you could very easily end up with a situation where there's a team that starts off the first half of the season really bad, and then halfway through the season they figure it out, and they might be one of the best teams in the league. But if you got your point system wrong, there's no way that they can overcome that first half of the season, right? So one of the hard things is finding balance so that teams have the ability to get back in. One of the things with having balance, though, is that if a team can get back in, the teams that are at the top can also take off. So you got to make it so that teams are rewarded for great play on the field, but also teams have the ability to overcome losses and overcome injuries and overcome bad moments in the season. So there's points awarded for wins. There's points awarded for consecutive wins. There's points awarded for scoring a certain amount of points, for not letting up a certain amount of points. There's points for the level of competition that you play. There's points for playing competition outside of your league. But everything that happens, all the points you earn, are during your league's regular season. There are no points earned for anything that happens before the season or anything that happens after the season. There's no points earned for picking up big name players. None of that. It's all about what you do on the field. So, that being said, when you look at the Bearcats is a topic of conversation because they won the championship last year. They started off with the best chance, the best opportunity to stay number one. They had the most points when the season started. The start of the season was the hardest because you kind of gotta go off of what you know. You also got to go off of what you can see. And it's not about what you knew 2 years ago about a team, it's what you know about them today. Right? Because you got a team like the Warhawks who, if you watch film on them from a year or two ago, depending on what you watch, they don't look good at all. They look bad. They look like they might fold. I mean, they're somewhat competitive, but only against other bad teams. You put them up against a top team, they're not going to do very good. But if you knew anything about what had transpired in their offseason, then you knew that they were going to be a decent team this year, maybe even a championship level team. So it was kind of hard. The Warhawks didn't start off at the top. They started off in the middle of the pack. They were actually in the bottom half, earned their way to the top. The Bearcats, although they're a championship defending team, although they're still undefeated, they're not the same team that they were. They're not. And The eye test will prove that for you. If you watch their games, you watch their clips, if you get anybody that was at their game, they'll tell you that team isn't as deadly as it was. And I really studied their last year's championship game against the Patriots. Like, I really broke it down. And that was a very, very talented team. I'm not sure if I would say that they were a national championship level team, but they definitely played very well. And I think if you put them in a national championship tournament, they would make it decently far. Very good football team. From what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, the offense is the weakness. Now, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, it's performance after performance after performance that they're not putting up points on really bad defenses, really, really bad defenses. And it's different types of bad defenses. They played defenses that had terrible D lines. They played defenses that had no linebackers. They played defenses that can't cover a pass to save their life. At this point, we've got to talk about the rating system for offense, defense, and specials. There was a point in time that Eric Tesoro says on a video, he goes, well, man, another great play by the Connecticut Falcons kickoff team. They've got to be an A by now. And I've never really explained the criteria for these ratings. So there's kind of like some very simple criteria to have a certain rating. And the reason why it's got to be simple is because this ain't the NFL. I don't got 6 angles to look at a play. I can't see down the defensive or offensive line. I can't see down the line of scrimmage and tell who won that battle on that play. I can't watch every receiver's route and see what they do at the top of their route. I can't even do that on some of the best film. North East Streaming, they did the Cardinals Warhawks game, and that's a great production. It's a great angle on the field. You get to see a lot of the field. And even in that film, I couldn't see every single route and look at every single DB and look at the safety's drop and fluidity of his hips and really break down the defensive calls to a T. So I can't be super granular and give a A+ or A- or a B+ or a B-. I can't do it and be accurate. I mean, I would be, for lack of better words, bullshitting. I'd just be pulling it out of thin air. What I can do is I can say there's certain levels of football, right? Like, you got teams that are just bad. There's no way around it. Then you got teams that they're not that bad of a football team. They're just not good enough to beat anybody, right? So a bad team is a D. A team that's not too bad, but they're not that great. They're not going to beat you with anything. They're just going to be a pretty decent football team. That's a C, right? Now, a B is a team that's competitive. They'll put points on you. Their defense will stop you. If it comes down to a big play, they can make a big play or two. That's a B, right? That's a team that can get out there and compete against pretty much any team in the league. An A means that team is dominant, that team can run away with a game based on whatever we're talking about. That offense can score points consistently and fast. That defense can stop one of the best offenses in the league from scoring points, period. They will just make it totally difficult for you to score a single point. That's an A defense. And then specials, the big thing about specials is it's semi-pro. Guys are going to fumble the ball. Guys are going to get popped. There's going to be onside returns. There's going to be big blown coverages on kickoff, and guys are going to run back touchdowns. That's going to happen no matter how good or bad a team is. It's just going to happen because that's semi-pro. I've seen really bad teams run back kick returns by accident. A guy falls or a guy gets injured, or there's just a great block that knocks a guy into another guy, and then that guy gets a sideline and he's able to run down the sideline. That doesn't necessarily mean that guy is a great kick returner or that team is a great special teams team. It's just that maybe they're getting a little bit lucky, or maybe that's just the nature of semi-pro. One of the things for me that gives you a specials A and specials team is punting the ball consistently without getting blocked, without having big penalties, without making major mistakes. Punting the ball is a big one because that's field position. not giving up big plays on kickoff, not fumbling the ball on kick return. And the biggest thing, the thing that really sets it over where I can go, okay, that team is an A, is field goals. You got to be able to consistently kick field goals. That's one of the things that will separate you in semi-pro. If you can get 7, 14, 21, 28, as opposed to 6, 12, 20, 26. Now you've won that game by 2 points. Y'all scored the same amount of touchdowns, but you won the game because you can kick field goals the other team can't. And scoring 2 points early in the game isn't that difficult, but late in the game when it really matters and you're playing a really good team and they know that they got to stop you for this one play to win this game, scoring those 2 points becomes really difficult. It becomes really hard. So if you can take that stress away from your team by simply kicking extra points and maybe even driving the ball down to the 20-yard line and kicking a 34-yard field goal to ice the game, that's huge. That gives you an A. And I tell you what, if I get word of any kicker on any of these teams hitting a 30-plus yard field goal to put their team ahead, even if it's at halftime, that will be the only plus that I give anybody, because they'll get an A plus in specials. Because at that point in time, you are now one of the hardest teams to beat. If you can consistently block and hit that field goal, you are one of the hardest teams to beat. So when you look at the rankings, one of the hardest things that just happened was that the Patriots had a bye week and you had 2 games with 65 points scored. 2 games with not 65, but almost 65 in both games. Then you had the Falcons blow out the Crusaders, but they didn't. I mean, we put up a lot of points. We did. We put up 41 points. That was all done in the first 3 quarters. We didn't score a point in the fourth quarter. We cleared the bench. We put some guys on. Guys took their stuff off a little early, both offensive and defensively. That game probably could have been even crazier, but, we have our objective of what we're trying to do. But like the 41 points looked great until we heard about the 63 that was scored in another game. That was tough. So, you would have thought that there would have been this huge movement with the Falcons blowing this team out and the Patriots having a bye. But then, things kind of just stayed the same because the top teams did what the top teams have done all season. They blew teams out and they shut them out, and it was undeniable. So a shutout is a big deal. When you talk about points, not allowing a team to score is a big deal. And doing that consistently is a big deal. Now, here's the thing about the ratings. The issue with the ratings is half of it is what you do on the field and half of it is the eye test. If you are playing the worst teams in the league, you're playing 8, 7, and 6 for your first 3 games and you're 3-0 and you shut all 3 of them out, but then you go and look at their offenses and they're terrible offenses that really can't score. Even on a terrible defense, they struggle to score points. You cannot be an A defense because you haven't proved anything yet. You beat a team the way that you should have beat the team. Now, you get rewarded and points for doing your job, but as far as ratings, you got to kind of prove that. And it's all relative to each other. Like the Cardinals' offensive rating and the Warhawks' offensive rating is not an A when you look at teams like the Long Island Eagles or teams like the New Jersey Unit or teams like the Marlboro Shamrocks or teams like the Sumter Sharks. They're not an A anymore. Like they struggle to be a C or a B at that point. As good as that team is, they struggle now because those teams are much better teams and they've been better for a long time and they proved how good they are. In this league, they're an A, right? In this league, that offense is an A. In this league, the Bearcats offense is a C. You put them in a different league and like you put the Bearcats in the NFL, they might be a B offense or even an A offense, right? But in this league, they're not. So I had to readjust a little bit because when you look at the play, one of the big questions and one of the big issues that I had, and it kind of made me like throw my hands up, was that the Mass Chargers, they scored 6 points against the Bearcats. And the issue was that the Mass Chargers also beat the Machine. And when you looked at the points scored in the Machine game for the Chargers and for the Bearcats, it was too close. And then when you look at the overall points, right, the overall points scored by both teams, it's hard to say what points came from where. And this is why I ask teams to always send me information. Let me know what your team stats is, even if it's just general, like who scored what touchdowns. Was it an offensive touchdown or special teams touchdown? Was it an interception return touchdown? Like send me some of this information, because you're just looking at total points scored. You don't know where it came from. But with that being said, the Chargers and the Bearcats total points is very close. I mean, just look at it. The Chargers scored 38 total points and the Bearcats scored 46. So the question is the Chargers offense a B offense? Like, are they a competitive offense that can score on teams? It just took them a while to get it together. Or is the Bearcats offense not that good? And from what I'm hearing, a decent amount of these 46 points have come from the defense. So I think unequivocally, no one who knows the IFA and knows these teams will say, yeah, the Chargers offense is a B offense. They're that good. Thus, it made me look at the entire league and kind of have to do like a rebalance. Like, all right, let's look at this again. Let's look at these defenses. Let's look at some tape. I actually got some tape that I kind of want to run through real quick. Let's just tap in on this real quick. So I got some plays that are from the Cardinals Warhawks game. Kind of just took some clips of what happened. That was the game-changing touchdown right there. As you can see, everybody's, charging the field. And if you look at this play, that's a great concentration catch. I mean, when the ball first hits his hands, he has both feet inbounds. Ultimately, once he has control of the ball, he has that 1 foot inbounds. It's NFL modified, so you really only need 1 foot in. It's a great catch, and that throw is a great throw. Back shoulder. It's not quite to the back of the end zone, but that guy also isn't like a 6'5" receiver. So I think honestly, he put it in the right spot. Great play. Let's look at this play right here. This is the play actually where Thaddeus got hurt. Pardon if the live kind of slows down on these plays. Just kind of one of the issues with the bandwidth. And that's one of the things with the bandwidth of using these streaming services, that they just struggle. To play these videos. Oh man. It's all right though. We're gonna wait it out, see if we can come back from that. So yeah. All right, I'm back. Man, as you can see, it's always a struggle to All right, I'm back. To get this thing to work with the bandwidth. You know, it's just the bandwidth between what Facebook can handle and kind of what the streaming service that I use can handle. Let's see if I can get one of those clips back up. But basically, I wanted to show kind of the difference between the level of play that we're talking about. Like, if your team is not putting up plays like that, where you got a receiver that can go up, high point the ball with a defender right in his face, hands in his face, and the biggest moment of the game against the top team in the league. I mean, you got to think about it from the Warhawks and the Cardinals' perspective. Warhawks were number 1 at the time by a lot. Cardinals, I think, were number 3 at the time. Only one game in a pocket. Coming in, they got something to prove, you know. And here we are in the fourth quarter, right? We got, you know, a big turnover. It's the final seconds of the game. That ball goes up in the air, and this dude goes up and snags the ball up the air, keeps his feet inbounds, and makes the big play. If your team's not making those types of plays, you're not an A. You're not an A, right? And defensively, we're going to get this back up real quick. Defensively, if you're not able to compete or stop a team from doing something like that, you're not an A, right? The Falcons defense has proven that they can stop some of the best receivers in the Northeast, period. I mean, these are guys that are like, they go in the Hall of Fame of semi-pro football. These are dudes that are super talented. Falcons defense has proven when they're all healthy and they're all on the field, they can stop just about anybody, like completely stop them. Like one touchdown, maybe, right? And we haven't seen that out of either one of those defenses. We've seen them shut out not great teams, but when they played each other and they played a better offense, we didn't see either defense really step forward and separate itself. We did see the Cardinals' defensive line show that they can get in the backfield and they can cause havoc. But is that because the Warhawks' offensive line isn't really that great? I mean, they already have a running quarterback. So as an offensive lineman, I'm kind of used to my quarterback being able to escape. I've never really had to hold a pocket for 5 seconds and give him a solid pocket to throw in. One of the things that I did see with the Cardinals offense is that they could throw the ball downfield. They could stretch you, pause, but they can also run the ball. They've got a bigger running back who's very fast, who's agile, who runs with his shoulders down. So they can hit you from both phases of the game. Even with the Warhawks dropping 5, I've even seen them drop 6 guys on one play. I mean, the total cloud coverage, and they still completed passes. That's a great offense. At this level of play in this league, especially against the team they played, that's a great offense. You cannot deny, and I almost wanted to, you know, knowing that you got the injuries on the Warhawks, knowing that the quarterback's out, you know, they lost to the Cardinals. The offense wasn't able to do what I believe an A offense should do. And one of the big things was that turnover late in the game. You can't fumble the ball when you have the lead late in the fourth quarter and be an A offense. Like, that's not A offensive type of plays. That's B offensive type of plays. You're competitive, but in the big moments, you can't pull it through. I was very tempted to take the Seacoast Warhawks offense and turn it into a B, didn't, because at the end of the day, 185 points, man. Like at the end of the day, 185 points. By far the highest scoring offense. And even with the quarterback being out, they put up 60. Might not have been the greatest team to go up against, might not have been the best defense in the league, but still went out and put up a lot of points. So I think having a little bit of context is great. So just looking at the top two teams, I mean, if the Warhawks was in the Southern Conference, I think this is a better kind of storyline. The fact that these two teams have seen each other already, the fact that these two teams will likely have to see each other again to get to the next phase as far as the championship, um, it kind of changes things, because you got two teams that are very similar, and a 1 point difference doesn't necessarily make me believe that the Cardinals are that much better than the Warhawks that they're a shoe in. I personally feel like, yeah, they've got the advantage. Now that the Warhawks have lost, in my opinion, their best player. In my opinion, I thought that Thaddeus was their best player. Don't really know a whole ton. Definitely got more relationships to make as far as got knowing guys and knowing teams in the IFA on my part, but just from what I know, that was their best player. So they lose their best player. They also lose the focal point of the offense. Yeah, I think the Cardinals got them now, right? Um, but hey, just based off of what has happened, a 1 point lead is not enough. 1 point lead is not enough to say either way. But when you look at the South, I mean, the 2 point win with the Falcons over the Patriots is not enough. I'm a little, you know, I'm a little tainted because I play for the Falcons, but at the same time, you know, I have enough reserve in order to be, you know, um, like bipartisan, not really take any side. But the Falcons they kind of fumbled the ball a lot in that Patriots game, to be honest. That score was a lot closer than I think the game really was. Falcons offense drove the field almost every possession, protected the ball very well, got into the red zone consistently. Um, I think I think one of the issues was that, speaking from the Falcons' perspective as a player, especially, and as a running back, a part of the offense, I don't think we've really been in a situation like that where we were consistently in the red zone. A lot of our plays are big plays in the passing game, or it's me as a running back, or Dennis as a running back, or Maz as a running back, just making something happen out of nothing, right? Like the defense knows it's coming. They've got 7 in the box. We've only got 5 to block them. And a running back makes somebody miss and then beats the other guy and gets in the end zone. I don't think we ever really had a defense step up and like, nah, we're not letting you in consistently over and over. And we wasn't really prepared for that. I don't think as an offense we weren't used to that. We didn't never consider, hey, we might be in the red zone 6 times in a game. Like we're a fast pace, strike quick, spread you out, hit you fast, and then slice you with the run game type of offense. That offense isn't really geared towards red zone play. And the Patriots kind of woke us up. But that score was a lot closer than I think the game was. If you were at that game and you don't really take any sides and you just watch the game, you would say that the Falcons are a step ahead of the Patriots. Now the Patriots have some guys now, especially defensively, that they didn't have. There's one big name player playing linebacker ish now that is a big deal. Like he's a big deal in that defense, and he makes them a lot better. Um, I think they really got an opportunity this weekend to kind of prove that, because they're taking on the Warhawks without their best player. Sorry, not the Warhawks. They're taking on the Cardinals. We take on the Warhawks in a few weeks. The Patriots are taking on the Cardinals this week, and they got a real opportunity to prove that their defense can stop top offense. Can their defense go out and hold that offense to 14 points? Even if they hold them to 20 points, I think that's a win. I think that's a win, especially with the offense putting up 50, I think it was in their last game, maybe 52 points in their last game against the Crusaders, the same team that the Falcons only put up 41 against. They put up 52. Another chink in the Falcons' armor. Like, as much as of a big play offense as the Falcons is, as much as a spread you out and gun you down the field, we got a 6'6" dominant receiver, right? We got one of the best receivers in Connecticut playing slot. We got one of the best receivers in Connecticut that's opposite of our 6'6" guy, you know, playing wide out. We got a number of dominant receivers that play the other slot, that come off the bench, that start. I mean, we've got a great receiving core. We can spread you out. But for whatever reason, we're not scoring a lot of points, and other teams are. So I think the fact that that game was so close, the fact that the Falcons didn't score when they got in the red zone time and time again, Patriots defense is getting better. They got a real opportunity to go out and prove something this week and say, hey, we really are like that. Like, so what? Y'all got a good game on us. So what? We really are a good team. I think the South is a lot closer in the conversation now than the North. But let's not forget about the Bearcats. Like, they're undefeated. And yeah, I dropped their offense because they haven't done anything. But maybe they figure it out. Maybe they play a better team. And, I'm getting a lot of conversation from New England, period, from upper New England. Like, hey, Bearcats defense is real good. Hey, Bearcats defense hasn't let up a point. Hey, like, we should be a top defense. Maybe they go out against a great team and do that. Let's look at the schedule real quick. Real quick. Let's just see who do they play for the rest of the season. Because if they go out and they play a top team and they shut them down defensively and it's a tight game, like, it really doesn't matter if the offense isn't that good. Because at the end of the day, you can't score on them. Let's just take a look really quick. So the New England Bearcats have the Warhawks. Yikes. Then they got the Patriots, and then they got the Cardinals. Wow. Bearcats. Y'all are on the clock consistently for the rest of the season. Okay, so you guys are playing the Warhawks this week. They don't have their best player, so if your defense is really like that, let's see it. Let's see it. From what I'm hearing, most of those points that they scored in this last game came on the ground, and their best player now is the running back, at least offensively, and he's good. He's shifty as all hell. He's quick, super quick. And he's got great eyes. Like, he reads the play, he hits the hole. I don't know if it's the fact that that offensive line is that good, because that offensive line for the Warhawks looks good. They move in unison. They move upfield. They create a great hole. Like, I know exactly what the play is just by watching the play. There's no guessing of what kind of run that was or what that call was. I know exactly what that call was because it was blocked so well. So I don't know if it's because the offensive line is just creating these massive holes or if that running back has great vision. But I tell you one thing, he ran very well on the Cardinals and he ran very well on everybody else. So stop him. Bearcats go out and hold the Warhawks to 14 points. They're an A defense, in my opinion. You take a team that averages 46 points a game and you hold them to 2 touchdowns, you're an A defense. It's up to your offense to win that game for you now. Your offense now has to score 3 touchdowns. You did your part. Until you do that against a top team, because, I mean, let's look at the teams that you beat so far. Who have you beaten? Bearcats beat the Machine. Folded. 1-4. By the way, the win that they got was a forfeit from the Huskies, who couldn't make it to the game. Haven't won a game on the field. Then you had a bye. Then you beat the Crusaders. Didn't beat them by a lot either. A team that the Patriots put 50 on. A team that the Falcons put 40 on. A team that I think the Warhawks put 50-something on. Um, yeah. I mean, you didn't beat anybody. Like you played the Charge, you beat the Charge. The Charge scored points. Can't give you an A. I'm sorry. I would love to. I would love to see that the top 5 teams in this league were all A defenses and A offenses. And I could say we have the best league in the Northeast in semi-pro football. But you got to prove it. Um, I still got them at a B though. I still think that that defense is super competitive. I think the offense is not, and that's why they kind of dropping down. Also, I think that if they lose to the Warhawks, um, they're still going to stay in fourth, right? This is just a if. If they lose to the Warhawks, they're still going to stay in fourth. The Patriots lose to the Cardinals, they're still going to stay in fifth. The Patriots close the gap because they play a little bit of a better team. So as far as the points are concerned, they close the gap. And then um, Bearcats, you guys got a tough schedule for the rest of the year. You got to turn around and then play those Patriots. So you're going to be playing 4 and 5. You guys are going to be playing for fourth place. The Patriots then wrap up their season with the Connecticut Reapers. I'm not like if I had to give an over under on the main machine playing the Connecticut Reapers, I give the main machine like a 30 over on the Reapers. Not to say that the Reapers are a terrible football team, but like I know a little bit about them, and I don't even think they could really play with the main machine. So um, the Patriots are poised to take that fourth spot from the Bearcats. So the Bearcats are going to be looking at a fifth place. They're definitely better than the Huskies. They're definitely better than the Chargers. They're definitely better than the Crusaders. But then that would mean that in the playoffs, the Bearcats have to take on the Warhawks. Unless the Patriots upset the Cardinals, right? If the Patriots upset the Cardinals, and let's not get confused here, I'm not saying that the Cardinals have this game in the bag by any means. I believe that the Patriots, if they show up and they play the way that they can play, not the way that they have played, but if they play the way they can play, they could win that game. They seriously could win that game. Um, I just can't see the Bearcats beating the Warhawks, the Patriots, and the Cardinals with the offense that they have. I don't even see I've seen some clips of the Bearcats. I don't even see the defense being that dominant that they can stop all three of those teams week in and week out. So now, Bearcats, you got Warhawks first game of the season. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. First game of the playoffs. And then if you get past them, then you got to play the Cardinals again. So even if somehow you figured out the secret sauce to beat them the first time, you got to beat them twice. Both teams. That's tough. That's tough. And listen, if you don't know, the more times you play a team, the harder it gets to beat them. And that's in any sport. That's in anything competitively. Like once a person's seen your moves and seen what you got to throw at them, it gets difficult to kind of surprise them. Like the jig is up. I know what you do best now. I know that you're just a fast running back that just gets to the outside. Now all I got to do is get there first. There are some guys that are so good that you can never get there first. Those guys don't play semi-pro football. At least they don't play semi-pro football in the spring. um, some of those guys play semi-pro football in the spring, but it's not a lot of them. It's not. It's not a lot of them. There's a handful of them. So once you kind of figure a team out, it's like, all right, we know how to stop them. Like at least if we don't know how to stop them, we know how to slow them down. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have like a serious advantage when it comes playoff time, it's really tough. And like people don't understand that about the NFL. Like they go, oh, people turn up their level of play when the playoffs come around. That's not what happens. Like any real football player knows that you don't turn your level of play up. You always playing at a high level. The difference is that you get more time to prepare. You get more time to understand what you're seeing or what's being thrown at you. You get more time to kind of overcome your own weaknesses, right? I know that the first time I played you guys, I wasn't strong enough. Now I got 6 weeks and 4 games to get stronger. Now the next time you see me, I'm a lot stronger than the first time you saw me. I wasn't fast enough, or I ran out of breath in the third quarter. So I ran and I got my endurance up. So by the playoff time, I'm a better player. Organizations as a whole are better. Coaches are better. The play calling is better. Playbooks are longer, deeper. They have more situations. That's what makes the playoffs tougher. Bearcats, I'm sorry. As much as I like you guys and I'm pushing for you, I honestly am. I love to see repeats. I don't think it's happening this year. I mean, you guys lost too much. You just lost too much. You needed to build on what you had, and you actually lost some of what you had. Falcons are a big question mark. Like, our defense, in my opinion, is the best defense in the league, as long as it stays healthy. Our corners, lockdown. Our D-line, forget about it. Best D-line in the league. Forget about it. Most athletic, strongest, most size. I'm pretty sure if you took the weight of our D-line in total and put it up against any D-line, it's at the top. But then the speed that we got on D-line is crazy. We got one of the best free safeties in the game. Shout out to Mike Reyes. And then we got a great linebacking core. Great linebacking core. I think our linebacking core actually has a lot of room for improvement. And we got guys stepping up mid-season, so they're getting better. There's no real weakness in that defense. The only weakness is if we call the wrong play at the wrong time. So that defense is dominant, but the offense, we gotta be more fluid. And honestly, I'll tell you, it's all in the locker room. It's all whether we just create fluidity amongst ourselves. It's not about talent. Talent-wise, we got a great offense. We got an incredible offense, talent-wise. But we all got to work together for the same goal and stop worrying about what the individual is doing and start looking more at what the unit is doing. Once we start operating under that aspect, we'll be untouchable. The question is, can we do it before the season's over? If we can kind of answer that and start putting up some serious points and start showing that we got that firepower in the bag, not like, oh yeah, we can turn it up whenever we want, but actually turning it up whenever we want. I don't think there's any question. And we're going to have to do that in order to get past the Patriots, because after we beat them, the Patriots were like, man, we got to do something. And they went out and they did something as an organization to try to match up with the Falcons. So, in the North, it's a two-man race. Let's be honest. It's a two-man race. They lost the team. Now it's just Cards, Warhawks, Bearcats, Chargers. And come on, we know the Chargers out the question. And we just talked about the Bearcats. So it's a two-man race. Right? Huskies are out the question, so it's a two-man race in the South. So that is what's going on in the IFA right now. That's really the gist of it. And it was a lot more interesting in week 1 because we had so many question marks. You got the Falcons in the IFA for the first time. You got guys moving from the Bearcats to the Warhawks. Apparently you got a lot of guys from the machine who are now moved to the Bearcats. I raised the question, does that make them better or worse? Nobody knows. Sorry to anybody who plays for the main machine. Honestly, if you've been looking at my rankings, I was bullish on the main machine. I had them in 6th place. I had them as the best team in the bottom half of the league. A potential underdog story in the playoffs, and then they folded. They gave up. So that's kind of tough. But now a lot of those players are Bearcats. So does it make them better? I don't know. Maybe there's some pieces from that offense that can help the Bearcats offense. But I don't see anything that makes me go, yeah, they're a lot better now. But yeah, the storylines were great in the first week, because especially like the mass charges, right? Who also go by the moniker Charge. I haven't gotten any confirmation on if it's Charge or Charges. If anybody wants to correct me, reach out to me, let me know. Send me some tape. If you know, you know. But Now that we're past the midpoint in the season, the picture is very clear, right? The top teams have stood out, and when you look at the bottom teams, the rosters are closed. So if you were gonna make a big move, if you was gonna go out and pick up some big time talent and really just make a second half push, the time is over. So I think we're kind of locked into where we are. Can the Queens Huskies get a win this season? Like I personally wanted to see the Queens Huskies do well. I'm a New York guy. They played in the TFL. They came over from the TFL just like the Falcons did. There's a dichotomy there in performance, though. The Falcons are excelling. The Huskies are doing the opposite. They're regressing, actually. I think that they're getting worse every week. I heard that there's some turmoil in the locker room. Hopefully, they really get it together. That offense was, I think, their best attribute to start, and now it's their worst attribute. Same thing for the Crusaders. The Crusaders had, the word from the Patriots was they got some guys. They got some guys that could really make things happen offensively. And if you don't watch them, they'll put a dagger in you and they'll score on you quick. And we saw that. The quarterback on the Crusaders is crazy. Dude is fast. He's shifty. He's smart. He could throw the ball off the back foot. I mean, he just went up against one of the better defenses. Like he tried the ball out. I don't know what the situation was in the other games that they never scored, but they look like they have the potential to score. They look like they have the potential to be competitive, but the offensive line is terrible, terrible, and just can't do anything. And they could be a D team across the board. I think in special teams they do well. Actually, they ran back a couple kickoffs, couple kick returns. Sorry, they ran for some good yardage on kickoff. They didn't do a bad job getting downfield. They didn't kick the ball to the wrong guy and let him run up the sideline. Like they did decent in special teams. They didn't make any big mistakes. So, they could potentially be a D team across the board, except for specials. They kind of hold up. But for the bottom half of the league, it's just get the experience, get your name out there, get your brand out there. Um, Try to recruit, you know. I love the Chargers logo. I love the uniforms. I've seen the uniforms with the powder blue. I think that's dope. You could build on that. Maybe look into getting your funds up and get better facilities, like a better field. Maybe have a place where the guys could work out. Do some things that really make people want to be a part of your program. Maybe next year, it's a totally different conversation when we look at the bottom half of the league. Um, Queens Huskies, I don't know. I don't know. You got to find some young guys that want to travel. You got to find some guys in the TFL that are probably riding the bench. There's a lot of guys, Queens Huskies. There's a lot of guys in the TFL that can ball that are sitting on the bench because they don't have a name, because they're first year to a team, because there's better guys in front of them. There's a couple teams, Queens Huskies, that you could probably go get some talent. You're gonna have to change the entire program though. Like you're gonna have to make some of these better players the focal point of your team. You're gonna have to do the same thing. Get your funds up. You cannot travel every single week. Not, especially when you play in a league where half the teams are in Massachusetts or higher. You cannot travel every single week. It's not gonna happen. You gotta have a home field. You gotta have a home facility. And I tell you what, that might even be an advantage to your point having a home facility because Queens is far. I worked in Queens when I lived in Danbury. It's only about 15 minutes from where I live now. It took me an hour and a half to get to work. And if I hit traffic, it took me 2 hours. So depending on where your field is, it can make it very difficult for certain teams to get to you. Like you gotta have a home field. That's just like no brainer. And I understand how difficult it is to get a home field in a city, especially in a metro area, especially in Queens. Give a call to the New York Rebels. See if they can help you out with getting a field. As far as the IFA is concerned, we've hit the turning point. I think there's some really great games. So this weekend, we got the Patriots against the Cardinals. Patriots got to go up to Brockton, Mass. That's tough, but the Patriots have always been a great traveling team. They've always traveled very well. Next week, the week after this, the Falcons take on Seacoast Warhawks in New Hampshire. That's tough. I've already seen the field. It's in nowhere. Like if nowhere America 00000 zip code was an actual place, that would be their field. Commissioner's Field in New Hampshire. It's in Dover, New Hampshire, and nowhere. That's gonna be a tough game because of where the game is located and the fact that two of the better teams in the league are taking on each other. That's a great game. Then you got the Bearcats taking on the Patriots next week to end the season off. The Bearcats taking on the Cardinals. So we got some great games ahead. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to happen. One of the big things, man, get the tape out there, get the games out there, film the games, film the games. Every team in the IFA, film your games, stream them, post them, put them on your page, get a Facebook page, open a freaking Instagram page, get a YouTube page, post your games, let people see you, and that'll make it more interesting. So, with that being said, it's 11:30 almost. I just want to say thank you to everybody who jumped onto the show. Nobody hit me up in my DM. Nobody hit me up in my DM to jump on the show, other than Jeff Mack jumping in. Definitely, if you missed the Jeff Mack interview, go back, watch the replay. I'm gonna post the replay. Interesting words from him. A guy that's played at all phases of the game, getting to talk about semi-pro and kind of his viewpoint on it and his experience. And that's great. That's great for the sport. We need more guys that playing at a high level, also playing semi-pro, big name guys that kind of draw a crowd. That's really the whole point. We want people to understand us. We want people to see us. We want people to know what's going on in football and understand the level of play. Like, that's a big deal in order to get people to come out to your games and support the teams. Supporting the teams then supports the league. Supporting the leagues makes everything better. That's what we talk about all the time. All right. So with that being said, we're going to wrap the show up next week. Like I said, already planned to talk to the commissioner of the NEAFL. We're going to get his words, see if we can get a player from the New Jersey unit to come on and talk a little bit. I'm going to reach out to the Chattanooga Eagles owner. He's a guy that told me that he was willing to jump on. We're going to get some guests on the show next week. We're going to talk about football outside of the Northeast a little bit. We're going to definitely recap the Patriots-Cardinals game. We're going to see, I almost guarantee there's going to be some movement in the rankings. This is the first week that the power rankings really wasn't crazy with the movement, although the bottom teams all shifted up because the main machine fell out. But other than that, everybody else pretty much stayed the same. They pretty much stayed in place. So we'll definitely see some movement, knowing what games are being played. We'll talk about the TFL, see if we can get Christian Ramsey on, kind of explain what's going on in the TFL and what's happening. That's the closest league to New England. That's all in New York. A lot of craziness happening down there. A lot of craziness happening. Being removed from it is kind of crazy. I'm kind of like a spectator to it now. I used to be right in it. So we'll have some guys coming in from there to kind of talk about what's going on down there. We're going to start introducing different segments. I'm going to start using a timer so that we have like 10-minute segments for certain things so that we don't run on. We're just going to get more and more efficient. The shows are going to get better and better. I got to figure out a system for the videos. As soon as I ran that video earlier, it kind of just shut the whole system down. So we'll figure that out. We'll figure out a system for the videos. And, it'll be great to see you guys. One of the segments that I think I want to run next week is just a segment around what plays work in semi-pro and what plays don't work. And one of the things that I want to do is kind of compare like the NFL to semi-pro. There's certain offensive plays that work in the NFL greatly for a reason that don't work in semi-pro for a reason. And kind of talking about the challenges of being a coach in semi-pro. the challenges of being an owner, challenges of being successful consistently in semi-pro. So we'll talk about all of those things. But listen, thanks. Can't say it enough. Thank you so much. I'm gonna start putting out the YouTube page, the 60 for 60 YouTube page. Please like, subscribe, promote it. This is the way that we can get more connectivity across the country. The more people that know about the show, the more people that know about the YouTube page, that see the teams, the more we're gonna get, you know, the New England Bearcats playing a team in Tennessee, the CT Falcons playing teams in Virginia, like we do every year. The more you're gonna get guys like the East Coast Cardinals playing Florida teams, and kind of having this, you know, crossing paths of leagues, and just making it more interesting, right? But also, you'll also get more of a fan base in the sport, and you'll start to see the level of play, the facilities. You'll see everything go up. So let's support each other. You know, I take my time out to do this show for that exact reason, because I see guys go out, give their all, you know, pour their money, their time, their love, their frustration, all into the sport, and get very little in return for it. Nobody really sees all the effort that they put into it. Nobody sees the stresses that the coaches go through. Nobody understands about, you know, how tough it is on some players. I got a good buddy of mine, a teammate, who he lost 7 people in his family over the last 6 months. He went to funeral after funeral after funeral, and he played in almost every game. And nobody really knows his story. So that's why I do the show. I do the show so that we can get these stories out, and we can talk to people, and people can find out about the great football, because there's great football being played, very talented guys playing football, very talented coaches coaching football. Let's just make everything better. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. I'll see you next week. Definitely gonna get an earlier start next week. We'll start at 9 on the dot as usual. Thank you again for coming out. See you at the 50. Peace.